Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we are good to go here, right?
Let's do it.
Hello and welcome to the Movie Marathon Podcast, a place where we watch movies and then we talk about them. But today we didn't actually watch any movies. We're doing something a little different because if you've been listening to our past episodes, we have officially launched. And now that we're rolling, we want to talk a little bit about ourselves, introduce ourselves, show a little timeline of what's coming on the podcast, what to expect, and take you on this further marathon of movies. And as always, we say a quick caveat. We are no experts by any means. We try to research this stuff. We write scripts. We work pretty hard, I think, but we get a lot of stuff wrong. So just remember, we're just a bunch of friends. We're shooting the shit, kicking back, and it's just like you saw a movie at the theater with us, and we're talking in the parking lot, or we're hanging out, and we've seen something 50 times, and we're arguing about the same plot points. You want to be able to jump in the conversation. That's exactly what we're going for. We want you to, as a listener, be here with us and be our friend, because Dixon and I are friends. And on that note, I really want to talk just shortly about us. My name is Gabriel, if you haven't been listening to the podcast. And I have been friends with Dixon for what? What has it been now, Dixon?
Oh my God. 20 years, 20-something years maybe? Very long time, my God.
A long time. We met in high school, but we didn't meet as freshmen. We met junior year in J Money. That was the first time.
English class. Did we not meet as freshmen? I could have sworn I definitely knew who you were.
I knew of you as well. But
but
at
but we definitely didn't become friends until junior year English class for sure.
Someone, when we were underclassmen, I think it was maybe sophomore year, because I feel like it was shortly before we actually met. Someone was like, "You don't know Dixon?" And I was like, I was like, I have no idea who you're talking about. I know of this guy. And we went to a small school. It was 200 kids in our class, but for some reason, there's maybe like 10, 20 kids you just really don't cross for a little bit. And that was us. And now look at us 20 years later.
Right. Doing a podcast together. Who would have thought? Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like I think I knew our mutual friend Chris La, who we talked about before.
Mr. La.
I definitely knew him freshman year because of lacrosse. I didn't play freshman year, but I knew him through that. And he definitely talked about you once or twice. So I definitely, again, that's probably how I knew who you were. But yeah, English class, junior years where we really started to bond and really get close for sure.
And if you're a listener, Dixon mentioned lacrosse. Eric and I played freshman year on the freshman team lacrosse. You should have been there, but you didn't need to be with me and Eric because we were on the sidelines literally playing with our lacrosse sticks as lightsabers. So and again, why we're doing a movie podcast. But in our defense, that was the same year Revenge of the Sith came out. So very popular in 2005.
Absolutely.
Very hot.
That was that's funny you bring that up because I do remember having conversations with a few people around when that movie came out. There were a few people that saw it as soon as it came out that I remember talking to them about it and being like, oh crap, I got to go see this movie. Like, I love Star Wars at that point, but that was just like the antithesis of the kind of what we're trying to do on this podcast too. Is like, totally. Oh, what did you think about this scene? And what'd you do about that? Like, that's kind of what, the very early stages of what we're trying to do here. So it's just funny that, around that time was when a Star Wars movie came out too.
It's also interesting that you say that because part of why we kicked this off was a little bit of what I mentioned before, that we're kind of doing this anyway. We're kind of talking about movies. We're friends, so we might as well record it and see if other people like to listen and jump in or try to jump in by listening. But, we have our friends as guests, and we said, like we're just a group of people, the binge bros, just chilling and talking about these movies in a casual conversation. And part of our history is very recent. Like we said, we've been friends for 20 years, went to high school together, college together, you could pretty much call us roommates, even though we didn't actually live together.
True.
So we have a very storied history of all great stuff. But recently, we had a string where we saw like 3 or 4 movies together randomly
Hmm.
because, I have no time. I'm a dad. I see most of my movies alone. When I used to see them either with friends, I saw a lot of movies with my dad, but it's just so busy these days. I just go when I can. So you and I saw Weapons, Fantastic Four, one battle in like a just a one movie after another,
Hmm.
and that kind of kicked off this rekindling of the movie partnership here that we have.
Yeah, and we've been talking about doing something like this for a while, and I think during that string of going to the theater and seeing those movies, that definitely reignited this to a point where we were like, let's take this seriously. Like, let's actually look into it. Let's do the work. Let's see if this is something that we could actually like really get going.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like how we got to this point, which is phenomenal. Like I, I I was excited about doing this before we even started doing it. And once we got into the work and like really thinking about how we were going to put it together and the process behind it, it's just reinvigorated that like passion to want to do something like this. And it's been a blast, been a lot of work, like you said, labor of love. But it's yeah, it's been so much fun so far, and looking forward to keeping it going for a while, hopefully.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because I love movies. I love going to the movies, watching movies, and that was part of why I kind of always resisted kind of working on movies and watching movies that way because I didn't want it to feel like work. But ultimately, we are watching these films, and that's part of our release calendar is that we're often tying episodes to either new films. So next week we have Mortal Kombat coming, and we'll talk a little about that at the end of what's coming and a little more later. But we try to tie our episodes to new releases and the conversation. And sometimes the conversation isn't about a new release, it's about something that came out years ago. It's a 25th anniversary, or it's like Eyes Wide Shut, our pilot episode that we did. It's always in the conversation. So whether it's a new release, nostalgia, convos, and the moment and culture, we're constantly trying to stay with it. And I'm whether it's a new Bond series, an MCU series, a art house series, like we'll say we have the new Inarito movie, Digger. We might do, Revenant and a few other ones there, Birdman, which you love and I hate. So there's so many different avenues we want to go on this podcast, and it's a great outlet, really, just for us to look back at stuff and take on new things that are coming.
Absolutely. And I feel like we're always having these conversations,
Yeah,
and this is just a way of us kind of like to keep those the conversation and the uh you know the passion behind movies. Like I feel like we love movies, we love seeing movies, and we love talking about movies. So we're like, let's just do this and see if there are other people that are interested in the same stuff that we're talking about and want to be a part of the conversation and want to like go along this journey with us.
yeah, totally. What was the first movie you saw in theaters?
Whew. First movie I saw in theaters. The first movie that I can remember seeing in theaters was The Lion King. I
I
just
think that might be mine or similar.
I distinctly remember I've had this conversation with my parents because they took me to go see it, and I remember every time it comes up, they talk about how much fun they had at that movie. And I remember it just being an amazing experience overall. The one scene that always stuck with me is the scene when they're at the elephant graveyard and
Mm,
Simba is walking through the graveyard, and then Zazu, there's like the jump scare where Zazu just kind of falls into the screen. I remember like having a visceral reaction to that and being and like the whole theater also having that same sort of like jump, like, oh my God, what just happened? And feeling like, what is that emotion? I was
yeah,
probably
yeah,
4 or 5 whenever it came out at the time. So just having that like there's this is like a new feeling that I've never experienced before. It's just to have that in a theater seeing a classic Disney movie um, was definitely changed me for sure. So that yeah, I don't think I saw a movie before that, but that was definitely my first theatrical experience where I was like, oh, there's something here. I'm into this.
Yeah.
What about you? What was your first movie?
I don't remember exactly what it was. I think if I ask my parents, a couple come up. I can't remember what they usually say, but Lion King is always in the mix, I believe,
Mm.
or I'm almost positive I did see it in theaters, if not I'm manufacturing the memory of it. But I I always loved going to theaters. I collect just stubs if I can remember, and the earliest one I actually have is Inspector Gadget, 1999.
Amazing.
Which is ridiculous. Yeah, I also have Jurassic Park 3. I think those are, like, my oldest ones, and then they're more consistent from then, which is nice. I just did it when I was a kid and just kinda kept on doing it, so I have most of them, even though now they fade, which is kinda bullshit,
Yeah.
but I try to mark them, even though I meant to tell you the 3 movies that we saw together, I don't have a stub for each of them because you go electronic, and every time we just kinda blew past, it was like a packed theater for Weapons and Fantastic Four, and then one battle was just ridiculous. It was like a one battle after another for us that night. So,
Yep.
it I don't have any stubs for those. But um
I'll
yeah,
email you the AMC Stubs receipts that I
I'll
got from
print them.
those.
Yeah, I'll print them out. I'll do like the print with like it has like the address code on the bottom and the date, the time, Phil style. So I yeah, I love films, I love movies, and this is part of too. I want to get into this again a little bit of just how we decide movies to talk about, but a lot of what we've spoken about recently and references a lot of franchise stuff. We talk about Marvel a lot and things similar to that. We are MCU fans. We are, fans of these franchises and a lot of blockbuster movies. But we like the finer stuff too. I think we can find some indies and some more refined taste stuff as well. I think the point of our podcast, I said earlier, is conversation, but also we we want to hone in on, even if this is contradictory, we want to hone in on a niche and find these places where, like an MCU, maybe we'll look back at Star Wars eventually, things like that, but also broad appeal, something people are talking about, or the Oscars, stuff like that.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that we want to stay involved in movies that are coming out recently because those are relevant. Those are what people are talking about, what they're thinking about, what they might go to the theater to go see. And maybe there's, like a Marvel movie, there's however many different other movies that have come out in the past and series that we want to talk about that are like tied into the movies. So you're kind of caught up as to where what you're going to go see. And then there's some movies where there's nothing, but maybe there's similar movies, like kind of how we did Project Hail Mary. We talked about The Martian. Um, and, so we want to keep everything relatively relevant, but there's also some stuff that we just have a passion for. And there's movies that are nostalgic to us, like for the Happy Gilmore episode. Like
Mm.
that was a movie that we all grew up with and that sort of comedy. So there's going to be that mix of us talking about stuff that is we're passionate about, but then also based off of what's coming out in theaters too, we want to keep the conversation relative to what's happening right now and what people are interested in. So hopefully that drives people to come and listen. And we also want to hear from everybody. We want to know like what they want us to
Hmm.
dive into and talk about, because we want to keep this going, and having people and listeners coming back is going to drive us. So if there's something that people are interested in, let us know, reach out to us,
Yeah.
and we'll try to get into on the slate if we can. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a favorite movie theater moment? Because I do.
I mean, I I don't think anything. I hope, but I don't think anything will top the experience of going to see Avengers Endgame in theaters. That moment for me was so it felt like everybody there was on that journey together and all knew exactly why it was so significant in the moment. There were people crying, there were people laughing, there were people screaming, there was cheers. Like I never felt something like that in a theater. I look at that to the equivalent of people that saw Star Wars for the first time in theaters and
Mm.
had that sort of experience. So for me, that's something that that will stick with me for the rest of my life for sure.
I'll roll off a couple. I mentioned this in a previous episode. Avatar, just seeing Avatar for the first time in theaters, and
Mm,
any Avatar, amazing. Just Avatar.
yeah.
I similar MCU moment, just because the fanboys, it does take it makes it crazy in the theater.
Mm.
Seeing No Way Home was wild. There were people in Spider-Man outfits doing backflips. I saw it in the city. People went absolutely bananas for that movie. It was crazy. There was popcorn in the air. The crowd was just raucous, raucous.
I had a similar experience for, I forget if it was part one or part two of the Deathly Hallows, the Harry Potter, like the
Ooh,
last two movies. We went to the theater, and this was before you could reserve the seats. So you had to go and get there early to get a good spot.
it sounds
And
crazy to even
it's
think about that,
wild
right?
now. Yeah. It's like you bought a ticket and you're just kind of like, all right,
Oh
I
my
guess
god,
we'll
thank God
figure
they
out
brought
where
that
my
in.
seat. Yeah. But they basically they knew that there was going to be a bunch of people that went early, and they held a costume contest. So like everybody that dressed up for it got to go down to the front of the theater, and then they would have like,
Amazing.
this is Harry Potter. What do we think about Harry? And then the whole crowd would like cheer, and like whoever had the best costume won. They gave them like a free ticket or like a free month's worth of ticket or something like that. So that was like a cool, same thing. Everybody was there for that movie. They were huge fans. They all read the books, so they knew like basically what was going to happen. But um, yeah, same kind of vibes. Being in a movie theater filled with diehard fans was
Yeah, right.
incredible.
Just the shared experience is
Yeah.
really the vibe there. And then I'll do one more that I could go on for forever. But I saw Hateful Eight in 70 millimeter on like a whim in January, whenever the year came out. Was it 2016 or 2015, whatever?
Mm.
And I had no idea what I was in for. Just I like barely even knew it was coming out at the time. I like Tarantino. I love Tarantino, but whatever it was, it I just wasn't ready for it. But it came up, and I was like, oh, I could just go see this tonight. And I grabbed a ticket. Just blew me away. Like I said, I'm going to keep. I could talk forever, but in the same kind of moment, I saw Get Out in the same way. I just I was excited for that. Booked a ticket for Thursday night opening night, starting like the East Village with a raucous crowd. Had such a fucking good time. I was alone for both of those, but the shared experience is so good. And then I'll give
Mm.
one more after that. One more.
I was gonna say, I one of the coolest experiences that I've had in a movie theater was when we went to go see the Netflix one that got nominated for Best Picture in like 2017, 2018. It was the Spanish language ones. We saw it in
Oh,
the
Roma,
IMAX
Roma,
theater.
Roma,
Oh,
Roma,
Roma. Thank you. Yes, Roma,
Roma,
not
Roma.
Sonora. Roma. Yeah, we saw Roma in, it was it was the THX theater. It was like a smaller
Yeah,
theater.
yeah, yeah,
It was like, I don't know, 40 seats, something
yeah. That
like
was
that.
sick. That was sick. I forgot
That
about
was,
Roma.
I felt so cool going to that and seeing like a special screening of that movie beforehand. That was a very cool experience. And then the it's definitely not the first movie that we saw, but it was definitely a memorable moment, was when we went to go see the third Transformers
This is
movie.
my last one. My last one.
You want to tell that one?
I'll just say it was a long movie. You have a tendency to fall asleep at times. And
Sometimes.
so that one went on for a long movie. The Transformers 3 is ridiculous for a film. If we ever do the Transformers movies, it'll be tough on all of us. But
I'm sure they're going to put out
at
another one at some
the
point.
time, this was like when they were at the top of their game. Transformers 3 came out. They were still cool at the time. But we saw it. You fell asleep during probably a very, very ridiculous Michael Bay loud action scene. I don't even know if I've seen it more than once or twice. I've probably seen it maybe 2 times. But we get through the whole thing. Credits roll. You're sleeping, probably snoring. Credits roll. Credits roll. Lights come up. We're with a group. I think it's a number of us,
Yeah.
and we leave. They start cleaning the theater, and you could pick up.
I wake up and there is not a soul in the theater. It is the credits are completely rolled. It is a blank screen. I wake up in a full on panic. I'm like, first, I'm just like, what the hell happened? And then I'm like, where are my friends? Like, why would they leave me in the theater?
We
I'm like,
were
are
there.
they
We were just by
gone?
like the garbage area where you like throw out the popcorn.
I was so bad. I was like, I can't believe they left me here. This is
So good.
insane. But I woke up and you guys were there, and I was definitely a little I was a little mad about that for a while. And but looking back at it, I'm like, that's hilarious. I probably would have
Same
done the
story.
same thing if it was you or somebody else. I would have been like, yeah, we gotta try and leave here.
I mean, to your in your defense, we both fell asleep during one battle after another. So that
At
was a
different
very late
points.
showing. Very
It
late
was
showing.
that was hilarious. It was late. We went to a dine-in theater, so I think we had a little bit of the tryptophan from like the chicken fingers and the nachos that we were eating. But it was funny because I knocked out and I woke up and I'm like, oh, I hope Gabe didn't see me fall asleep. And I turn over and your eyes are closed.
It's a
I
long
was like, all
movie.
right, so it wasn't
I
just me.
rewatched it.
Okay.
What else have
Yeah,
we
we've had
seen together? And we saw Sausage Party together. Remember that? We saw that on a summer night, like late. It was like an 11 o'clock showing.
yes. Oh my god. We've seen a lot of movies. Did we see any of the Dark Knights together or any of the Nolan Batmans?
You guys, I saw those with my dad, but we saw on a second watch. Did you see the awful showing we did when we saw it was Bane? So it was Rises, it at the Liberty Science Center.
No, I think did we talk about this? We might have
This
talked about this, but no, I didn't
maybe
see
it came up
Rises.
on an episode or we talked about it, but it was so bad. Bane's face was the whole screen. Eric could tell you about it. It was awful, awful, so bad. Most of us went. I think Anthony was there. Most of us were there. You
Yeah.
probably just were busy that day, but it was
Yeah.
you lucked out. That was rough.
Not one of your more favorite experiences.
Yeah, that was rough. That was rough. I mean, we've seen all of the recent Star Wars together.
Yep.
Love them or hate them. We've seen all of those.
That's true. I feel like they put out a Star Wars, I'm gonna go see it. So
We'll see Mando. We should.
we will.
We have plans to for the listeners. We usually, I was saying before, I see so many movies alone. We haven't seen any new releases for the podcast for the show together yet. We plan on seeing Mortal Kombat, Mando, and then we'll go from there. But we often, when we see new releases, we don't know our opinions yet. For Scream, we didn't know. Hail Mary, we didn't know. So we'll try to keep that intact as best we can when we see stuff in person. But yeah, it's a fun way to do it.
Absolutely. And I feel like it'll be interesting. When we did the Star Wars, like when we saw the more recent like Disney Star Wars movies, we would go to see the movies and then we would either like go out and grab a drink or like do
Yeah.
something after. So it was nice to have that space where we were kind of like, how do we feel about this? Let's decompress it. And even if we did go off on tangents or like we were talking about other stuff, eventually we'd just come back to Star Wars. We'd be like, well, why did we talk about this? Or why did they change that? Or why is that a thing? So that, and little did we know after all those conversations, it was like, this was all going to lead to a podcast at some point.
Dude, you're making me want to do the new Star Wars movies just to talk about how I felt after Force Awakens. Because we actually did that one inverse. We went to the movie we ate before. You were dressed like Han Solo.
I was.
It's just so much fun. We were so excited for that movie. And then when we came out, the vibe is just completely turned on its head. Just silence. And we drove back home in silence.
We got in the car and it was the four of us. It was you, me, Eric, and our friend Anthony. And we got in the car and the three of us were like, what? Like we started just like going off about it. And you sat there, you were in the driver's seat and you were like, I need a second. I need to decompress and think about that for a minute. I'll never forget that. You were just like, give me a hot second to feel.
We needed to decompress so many times that we saw it the next day. Me, you, and Anthony saw it the next day to try to force ourselves to like it more. And then I think I've seen Force Awakens in theaters the most out of any movie, maybe 4 or 5 times. I tried to force myself. I don't know if I've seen many movies. I've seen plenty of movies twice. I've seen a couple 3 times. and then Force Awakens. I think I saw 4 times. Really tried to nail it in.
I'm probably at 3 for most theatrical movies. Like the Avengers movies, I've definitely seen those 3 plus times, or at least 3 times in theaters. Yeah, I don't know if I've done any 4 times.
I think
I'll
it's just
say
Force Awakens for me. Really
I've
tried.
definitely seen a couple on like re-releases. Like last year, I saw uh, it was the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith
Mm.
that I saw in theaters. That was just I remember seeing that the first time and then seeing it again, and it just hit just as well for me. But
Next year they're going to do the Star Wars
A New Hope,
original.
yeah, that's
That'll
like
be
the
fun.
50th anniversary, I think.
That'll be fun.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
definitely gonna go see that.
What is your what's your order? Your movie theater order?
My
Food order.
movie theater order.
I know you're a Stubbs
am-
member.
I'm
So
an A-lister.
AMC,
Brush off the shoulders, yeah.
we're looking for sponsors.
Lock us in. Get in early. I will always get popcorn, and then depending on how hungry I am, I will go with a bunch of crunch. That's usually my like secondary. Like I'm feeling a little, I did a little extra couple of miles on my run today, so I can spare the extra calories for a bunch of crunch. Yeah, so I'll go.
Is the bunch going in the popcorn or separate?
No, separate.
Okay.
But I do the. You've seen my straw in the popcorn bucket to get the oil at the bottom. Yeah, that's my go-to for the popcorn. But no, I keep them separate if I do get them. The couple times where I'll do the bunch of crunch and the popcorn. Yeah. What about you?
Classic. Just get a popcorn and a Coke. Usually a cherry vanilla.
Cherry vanilla, nice.
Cherry vanilla Coke. That's like the only time I get a flavored Coke at any time. Otherwise, I'll always go plain. You see me on the podcast. Usually trying to get in the movie spirit. I'll drink a Coke on here. But yeah, and just a shitload of popcorn. I don't get any candy or anything like that. Some nice salt and butter. Love the TikTok trick, putting in the straw. And
game changer.
Keep it simple. No hot dogs for you? Nothing like that?
No, I did go through a phase where I was doing chicken tenders for a while, like the chicken tenders and fries.
You got
with
a hot dog
honey mustard.
You got a hot dog at Force Awakens. That's why I asked.
Did I really?
Yeah.
I must have been really hungry if I got a hot dog then.
You came from like work or something like that, and because you were late, you missed like the opepening crawl the second time. It was the second time we went.
Okay.
Yeah, not
the first time we went to dinner before.
No. Yeah, we went. No, OG. Yeah.
I don't remember the hot dog at all. That's wild.
I'll ask Anthony about it. He'll remember.
That's great.
Do we want to get into, before we wrap this up, you want to get into the main structure of our episodes a little bit?
Yeah. So basically the way that we're kind of working through this podcast, or like how we want to go about talking about each episode, is we'll talk about the creation. So like how the movie kind of came to be, whether it was through a franchise or on its own, just, someone finding a script and it just going through that process. We'll go through the production. So once it gets to a certain point, how they built out the movie and how they were able to kind of make it come to life. We'll go into the casting. So we'll talk about all the actors that were involved, other movies that they were in, if there are any crossovers between the actors, any significant notes as far as, this person played this role and this is how they wanted to get this. And, we'll go into all those details. Then we'll obviously go into the story and talk about the plot, talk about significant scenes, if there's anything that we noticed that we loved about the movie, didn't like while we're going through it, and kind of really break down the story and what makes the movie hit home for us. Then we'll talk about the reception, how it did in the box office, what the critics thought about the movie, kind of how we thought about the movie. And then we'll just add some like interesting details. There's always Easter eggs and everything, or little tidbits and background information. And then we'll give our final opinion on how we feel about this movie. It's good. I feel like the breakdown between watching movies that we like, watching movies that we've seen a bunch and that are either nostalgic for us or just, we're huge fans of, and then watching something that's we've never seen before, had maybe no interest or little interest before, and just because of a new release or something that's coming out, we're pushing ourselves to watch different movies or stuff that maybe we wouldn't have done before this podcast. Um, and yeah, we'll try to make it fun and discuss everything about the movie and give you as much information. Again, not totally correct information. We'll try to be as correct as possible, but we'll try to give you as much as we can and give you enough to go into these hopefully theatrical experiences and have a great time while you're in the theater.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of our structure as well is talking about our first experiences with the
Mm.
film, and that goes into what you're saying about stuff we've seen before and we mentioned earlier new stuff. Whether you've seen the movie or not, I would hope that if you're listening to the episode, it's filled with spoilers. So I hope that you've seen it at least once. But
I would say that. I would say probably see the movie before you listen to our
yeah,
episodes if you have the opportunity to. I've talked to a few people that have listened to episodes without seeing the movie,
Hail
and it's
Mary
actually
especially.
yeah. I've talked to people that have listened to the Eyes Wide Shut episode and went and watched it for the first time, and they were kind of like, "Wait, what are they talking about? This scene with all these masks? Like, let me go check that out." And so, hopefully, even if you haven't seen the movie, the episode, the podcast episode, will kind of guide you
Yeah.
along or at least give you some idea of what's going on. Obviously, there will be spoilers. So if you don't really care about being spoiled, then that's totally fine too. But yeah, it's interesting that it can kind of go both ways. But ideally, you would have seen the movie before listening to us.
Yeah, however you want to listen, go for it. You want to spoil it, that's fine. But the podcast is intentioned. You said the word guide. It's intentioned to be in some ways like a guide. A new series is coming out, or a new film in a series is coming out. You want to catch yourself up. This is what a lot of people, a lot of fans do. You rewatch stuff. We're meant to kind of guide you along. Oh, another Mission Impossible is coming out. We got to watch 8 of these movies. Come on along. We're going to do it together. We're going to marathon these movies and we'll take care of them together. So you watch one and then you listen to our episode. And that's sometimes you know all the information, but that's part of why we're just your friends. Sometimes you're finding out, like Dixon said, new tidbits, and that's part of why you're listening. But we're really just meant to be like a guide along piece with you. And whether you're finding out new information or stuff that's now you're familiar with again, you're remembering again, either way, you're supposed to get one of those pieces out of it with us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're very excited to be doing this finally. It's been a long time coming, but
So excited.
I think this will be a lot of fun. Yeah, so we hope that everybody joins us on this cinematic adventure. And like we said, we look forward to like hearing from everybody. Tell us if there's something you want us to do or a movie you want us to break down. But no matter what, we're here to have a good time, and we hope that everybody that joins us is also having a good time. You should subscribe to. We have a bunch of audio versions: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer. There's a bunch of other platforms. If you want to watch us, we're going to be on YouTube. You can follow us on every social media platform: TikTok, Instagram. If you want to recommend stuff to us, reach out on X. But yeah, just come along for the ride and join us on this journey. And always remember that the movie may be over, but the marathon keeps on going, baby. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from everybody soon. So come along with us.
Peace.
Peace.